Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the TechIT podcast. Today's date is August 1st of 2021. And this special edition of the TechIT podcast, we will be going over the ever-circling debate that is physical media versus cloud services and cloud software.
And we'll also be touching on printers and the paper trail. Thanks for joining me, Greg. How's your week been going?
It's been going good. I've caught up with some people in my spare time while I try to balance stuff like trying to get certifications, as well as look for like a potential new car for me just on the side.
Right on. Good luck with finding a car. It's always a big deal. Have you been playing any new video games or reading any cool books?
I need to catch on some new books because I know this isn't tech related, but Danny Trejo, the guy that plays Machete, he's releasing a memoir that I think is quite interesting. Which I don't know if his taste is for everyone, but yeah, just to pass along that news, he's releasing a book, and if you're interested, it should be coming out soon. But in terms of games, the last game I tried was Watchdogs 2, which I got for free from the Epic Games Store, which, well, I can feel the age of it because it came out in 2016, I believe. It gets rather repetitive with
Yeah.
time and everything, because it's supposed to be a hacking game, so like it's supposed to be geared towards, like we talk about here on the show. And sometimes the hacking is just walk up to this box, hit E, and wait a bit. Or go over here, do this puzzle, which makes the what do you call it, the robot check on like accounts and stuff look difficult.
It's a puzzle game. I feel you. I feel you.
So
I mean, it's not like you can expect them to be like, oh, here's how to brute force hack in a video game. It's kind of gotta
no,
be for everybody. So I feel that.
Ubisoft wouldn't be up for that, but I don't know who would. Like, in case they get targeted by the government, it's like, what are you teaching people?
I hear you. I hear
You're
you.
teaching people how to type fast and
Yeah, it might look a little sketch if you start like showing your gamers how to brute force hack and oh, here's how to sniff packets on a network or stuff like that. It might be a little bit sketchy.
it's like there are free applications where you can do that. GitHub, there's a lot of hacking tools that you can find on GitHub
You
and wiki tools or
gotta be
WikiHow or
careful because
whatever.
you don't want to be like put on a list or anything.
Yeah, so it's like if people want to download stuff like that's sort of way to just counteract those cyber agents or cyber criminals. At the same time, you might be labeled one yourself for just trying
Right?
to learn.
Yeah, you gotta be
So
careful.
it's kind of difficult with that, but that's how things are now. But how have you been, Mike?
I've been pretty good. I've been playing some video games. I'm playing a little bit of RuneScape, some Albion Online, and a
Mhm.
little bit of Valorant. Just here and there. I've been picking up my some competitive, getting ranking up a little bit. I'm pretty proud of myself. I got silver 2 the other day and working towards silver 3 and then hopefully into gold. Um
Again, for our listeners, those are ranking systems in competitive video games, or in this game, Valorant. There's different tiers in terms of how good you are, in terms of different levels of based on records, I believe.
let's go ahead and jump into what we have for our listeners this week. Um so we are starting with the topic on advantages of physical storage versus online storage. So, cloud storage for your online and physical storage could be anything from a database to a flash drive or external hard drive. Um, Other things we'll be covering today is printer security and how to secure your printer network. Uh, we'll definitely go into
Hmm.
some hardware and software options that you can uh, weave into your company network or your home network. Then we'll be going into a step-by-step guide on how to secure your printers, and last we'll be covering, our last two topics for today will be the gaming ban. So California and a couple other states have been banning the purchase of gaming PCs. Not all PCs though, so we'll have to talk more about that later. And last but not least is a company called Framework. We're gonna do a little review, and they're kind of new company on the scene, so I'm excited to talk about everything they have to offer.
Oh yes, yeah. We always gotta support the small guys rather than help people that I don't know, use workers' money to go into space or avoid uh paying for paying back the taxes in the
Oh my gosh,
country.
I've heard about that. I don't know what. It's kind of hard to yo Bezos, what's going on?
It's like at first I didn't care about the man, but now it's just like
I feel like I feel like it's hard to judge him right now. I feel like if he uses his program to do something good other than like give people tours, like I think there's potential there. I think he might have just been like, "Hey, let's just try this out, see how it works out, and then maybe he'll do something worthwhile out of it." But if he just keeps it as, hey, pay this much money and go do a tour in space, I don't know if that's really helping the plan. I mean, if you look at Elon Musk, he's like, "Yo, let's have a backup plan." That sounds like an honorable goal for me. Like we have polluted and trashed our planet so much that
we ruin our planet a lot just from gender reveal parties and fireworks and
that I
the like is pollution. Not to mention what we do in the data centers and general
yeah,
dumping.
especially in the ocean with like there's like giant trash islands in the ocean. So like just having this idea of like a backup planet or some place we could escape to if things get too bad. Yeah, I feel like that's a promising idea. So
On
yeah, I'm
paper, it's a
paper. So
promising
we
idea. I don't know about Mr. Musk leading it.
well, I think
'Cause
it's got potential. He's got potential. We'll see what happens. On that
of
note,
course.
let's
And much like the potential with that, let's look at the potentials that reside in cloud versus physical storage as it could be defined on paper. Physical storage is more like accessible still right now, where well you can literally look at it and pick it up and give it to someone easily by just going, "Hey, hey, sir or ma'am, here's my storage on this little drive, or maybe it's a big drive that's like the size of a VCR. Here, take this drive. It has a bunch of stuff on
exactly.
it. It's the backup. Put it
Yeah,
somewhere
so this
safe."
is a huge benefit of physical storage. Just having it on the location, it's secure. It's easy to move around, especially if it's on a smaller. Unless like a huge database, you could have it on an external hard drive. You could have it on a flash drive. You could have it on your phone. Um, there's just a lot of benefits to having physical storage. Uh,
On top of there's drawbacks to this being it physical as well. Like you can break it and drop it, of course, thus making it like not able to be inputted into other machines. But I haven't seen too many cases where people overtly drop hard drives, SSDs, and flash drives and break it so it's unaccessible. But the vulnerability still exists there. As personally, that's never happened to me or anyone I've known.
I mean,
As I've seen a lot more
early on,
problems
external
with
hard drives were pretty
cloud
bad.
services.
Like you could lose all your data by unplugging it without ejecting it, but nowadays that's not that much of an issue. They weren't as resistant back then, but nowadays they're a lot better. Like now you can get like weatherproofed like flash drives and external drives. You can get like secured like where it's like authorized access only, where you have a password or passphrase set up. Um, I think there's even some higher level ones that have multi-factor authentication. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, there are some different disadvantages and advantages that are, you know, if it could get destroyed. So but I think it's not a bad way to go with physical storage, on-site storage, databases and stuff like that. It's You can always have physical protections for your physical devices, especially if it's on-site only storage. You can stop people from
Hmm.
walking into your place of work, and you can have like physical barricades that prevent people from getting in there. You can have security personnel. You can have just locked doors, locked boxes, all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of advantages to physical storage.
That's why it's always best to not engage in a what some would call an Ocean's 11 lifestyle, where it's just like I got everything in one safe. Nothing's gonna go wrong. It's better to have multiple
Oh
layers
yeah,
of
especially
stuff. Like
especially for your data.
like if you're like in medieval times, you had a bunch of gold and a bunch of royalty crap laying around, and you're worried that your neighbor is gonna come and get you. Much like how cyber criminals are going after cloud services. You'd want to put it somewhere safe, but not put a bunch of stuff in one area. Like you're not going to put a bunch of gold in one room with one guard in front of it. You'd put it in different spots so that in case one thing gets compromised, you can get it back. Much like you can do in physical storage by making different disks volumes.
Yes,
So it's like, oh no, my data's gone for that, but at least I have my personal stuff still because I made a separate disk volume.
always important to back up.
But
Even as we talk about, I'm like thinking, why not have physical and cloud storage? One physical
there's
and
hybrids. Yeah.
one cloud backup. You know what I mean? Yeah, there are hybrid. There's a lot of companies that use hybrid storage databases. Um, One of them is Google Drive has some cloud storage for you. I think a lot of people use Google Drive. Microsoft OneDrive is a big one.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Dropbox.
Dropbox. Have you used Dropbox?
Personally, no. I've troubleshoot people in the past that do use it, and to be honest, I still don't fully know how to completely use it. As I usually use it for pictures, like to help people like upload pictures to keep them safe because they don't like them keeping it on their phone. Because Tim Cook wants more money spent for having more space on the phone,
I agree.
so they're like, I have to back these up, and more people still go towards physical media for this. So Dropbox, while popular, is not like a universal thing to be looked at as like a solution
I am
for
a big
that.
fan of Dropbox. I have used it and I like it. I think it has like expandable plans, kind of like Google Drive, where you get this much for free and then you have to pay more for a bigger space. But it works really well for what it does. It's pretty easy to use.
The trick to online storage is that sometimes it's heavily reliant on how good your, to put it lightly, Wi-Fi storage or not storage, Wi-Fi connectivity is in order to recover data. It will take a long time to download everything back if your internet is slow. Like if you have a bad internet provider, like let's say it's not one of the big three, like what is it, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, then you're gonna have a hard time getting all those files back on when you're relying on
I agree.
internet
Yeah, make
to
sure.
download everything back after a
So
breach.
before switching your company over to the cloud, make sure that your company has reliable services. So whether it be power or just internet or whatever it is, make sure it's reliable. And is up. Wait, would you say like 90% of the time, 99% of the time? You don't want to go to work and have things to like when you go to like the store and their stuff's down so they can only ring you up in cash. You don't want that to happen if you're trying to get work done.
Yeah, because it could be ironic that the data backup could be slow, and from like after a breach attack on your company, be it 10 people or 100 people that we've mentioned in the past, the scope of these recent attacks that are reaching the surface, which I find it really funny that mainstream media is covering now, which is a whole month later from when what Kaseya did, or what happened to Kaseya back in 4th of July
Thank you,
weekend.
yeah.
But these softwares for cloud storage, they rely on encryption, which of course may raise the price of these solutions in terms of having it encrypted, as well as asking for more space. Like if, let's say you only ask for 500 gigabytes of space for cloud online storage, and suddenly you hire more people, like let's say due to you reopening after COVID. And suddenly you have to be like, oh, I have to store all these more passwords. I gotta store all this new information, but I have to add another 500 gigabytes now to my stuff. That's gonna be more money you're gonna be paying for the online storage.
Yes. I agree.
So
Um, I think it all depends on the situation. If you are a company that has tons of data that needs to be stored, it could be more money to set up an on-site database and maintain that. So it all comes down to the person and and the company. What are they trying to store? So if you're say you need to set up an entire database,
mhm.
it might be more cost effective to just go with the cloud storage and just get the upgrade prescription. But if it's more of a smaller kind of like storage, or if it's small storage like external drives or something like that is sufficient, then going with local storage is fine. Or or even going with cloud storage that's not premium is fine.
Exactly. So for anyone listening right now that's like a startup company or a part of a company that could be over 100 or even over 1,000, 10,000 people. If you're a startup company, which I encourage you to keep going on with that journey because we need more startup companies right now, and just strive for your dreams with the startup company, that whatever it is that you do. For local storage for a startup company, I think a USB drive is good enough. Just a 64 gigabyte or 128 gigabyte
Little
USB
flash
drive
drive
is
or
will suffice.
external, yeah, I think that's useful, comparable. It's especially for a startup, I would say. And you can integrate some some cloud, and later on you can always upgrade as you go. There's lots of options.
Just have, yeah, just have differing levels of
And
protection
like you could even just stick with
is
the free
always
cloud
good.
services. And the great thing about the cloud is you can access the cloud from anywhere. So if you want to get work done on the go, there's always that option.
Exactly. If you're a traveling consultant, like I might end up being actually in the future, and my future, I mean like probably like after 2025, let's say, with how diseases are going nowadays and personal stuff. It is harder. Well, you could be comfortable with just relying on the internet, which sometimes it's not that great to rely on the internet to access files from, like, let's say, an airport or a hotel room, to just get like your Google Drives, your OneDrive, and Dropbox backup. Then let's say having like a slab of hard drive in your backpack or satchel or handbag or what have you, and carrying that through multiple states and with your airport luggage and everything, which I'm not even sure personally if they find that to be a warning sign, like they'll think the hard drive's like a warning, like for online travel. It could be something in there. Search that bag, especially overseas. As well in terms of worse, fly back and get another physical storage
I hear that. Yeah, and your
drive.
baggage could get lost, or like especially if you have to put it in your bag. God forbid, putting something in your bag, your baggage could get lost. Someone else could mistake it for their bag. Oh, this is a huge hassle. So let's go in and change the gears here and start on into the printer side of things. And let's talk about the security and the paper trail of printers and different things we can do to secure our printers and eliminate the paper trail.
Because in the IT space, troubleshooting printers is one of our
I
least favorite
agree.
things to do because no one wants to do it. It's a arduous thing. The printer is not as, let's say, codependent with the IT worker or even regular worker, frankly. Most of the time when we just, again, at the end of the day, just want it to work. And sadly, it doesn't always work. So, with printers being in the news a lot lately, with the Microsoft Print Spooler plugin not working and getting potentially compromised by hackers trying to target it. That's why I encourage all of you, if you haven't gotten the Microsoft update for that, to download the Microsoft update for that, or rather the Windows update for that, by just going through settings and update and security on your local machine.
So
As printers are not going away anytime soon, as much as some people would like to try to, because printers literally are the paper trail. Like, you literally print off stuff on paper to say, this is my contract for this guy. Oh, this is the procedure for how to ironically set up the printer or test the printer, as well as carry out all sorts of documents for different divisions that could be in your company, be it, again, a startup company for a restaurant or an ERP or an IS solutions provider to big companies involved in insurance, law practicing, medical, and other industries alongside or expanded upon it.
so other than uh being able to eliminate all printing, which trust me, I'm all for. Um, there's just so many other ways we can send our data nowadays, and saves trees, it reduces the amount of data that's laying around that someone could oversee, or let's say you leave it on a desk or is thrown away or left on the printer. It's a data risk, especially if it's sensitive information. What are the other ways we can go about doing this? What can we do besides having a shredder right next to the printer? How do we secure our networks? How do we eliminate as much of the paper trail as we can? How do we keep an eye on our printing traffic? Who's printing? What's being printed? How much that's being printed? Who's it going to? How do we manage all this? So
Well, one way would just be to just limit or disable network printing when it's not needed, as opening up printers to just the internet, while convenient, in terms of setting of the setup process, where you just have to find the IP address of your printer by going through its own personal settings and just adding it to your machine, like so. While that is convenient, sometimes convenient leaves a lot of windows open,
I agree.
as a fix can also just be as simple as turn it off when you're not using it.
Now there are specific ports that you can turn off, so make sure you check what port your printer's operated on. I'm pretty sure new printers usually use IPPS protocol SSL port 443. So I would turn off all the ports or close all the ports other than that one for your printer, just to make sure that that's the only thing that's the only way that they have to your printer has to access uh the port. Um, so and also so that's secured. There's always the possibility you could always use a firewall. Uh, so
Mm-hmm.
there's software firewalls and there's hardware firewalls. So if you're a bigger business or even a smaller business, you can use smaller hardware firewalls and there's also bigger hardware firewalls. So some of the firewalls include Cisco. There's a firewall through Cisco. There's hardware. There's a Bitdefender box you can always look into. There's a couple other ones out there. I'm not going to go into them all, but if you guys want to check out the firewall hardware out there, uh, where I use there's a link, uh, toolbox.com.
We're gonna put
Yeah,
down the description of where we upload this, as well as encourage you to just practice and keeping everything updated across these devices as well, especially if it's hardware, be it again a printer or a firewall, such as those reside in companies that are, I believe, are trusted, such as 40net Netgear. Those are two
right.
separate ones.
So if you guys
Just as
want
a
to look that
correction
up,
before.
it's toolbox.com/IT security/network security/articles /top 10 fireware devices. There's a list there. You guys can go through and look at the specs. And if you really want to going deeper and just see what's right for your company.
Likely so. As, like I said again, firewalls are ideal for an IT environment or enterprise environment or even a Soho or a small office home office environment. For instance, I'm doing this right now at my house, and I always have Windows Firewall or Defender activated on my computer. And this isn't an ad for Windows because I know Windows isn't perfect, as I'm presumptuous always as to what they're doing in terms of how they're putting out everything, be it in the gaming industry or hardware industry or just in their offices. But the Windows Firewall and Defender is good enough on its own, as it comes with most if not all Windows PCs. So I configure that immediately because I'm pretty sure it does upon default, but on setting up your PC or just in general, because I don't think it just leaves you
Yeah, there's
exposed
definitely
right when
some
you buy it.
default settings for your firewall, but definitely go in there and make sure everything's set up properly and the way you want it for your company. So there's plenty of information on the internet to look up and see what kind of modifications you can do to your Windows device. Another on the software side, another way to go about managing your printer network is through printer software there's one out there called Brother that not only helps you manage who's using your printers, how much they're printing, different security. You can set it up for security ID, passwords, and all that kind of stuff. So you'll be able to manage this and easily manipulate the security for your printers and your printer network. So definitely check out Brother if that's something your company is looking into to not only secure your printer and eliminate the paper trail. This could also help ecologically. So by by seeing, hey, this person printed this document 20 times, maybe they need some help printing. Um, maybe they made a mistake and need to, need some more, just some help figuring out how to use the printer or something like that. So, just being able to keep an eye on your network is a big advantage.
Indubitably, as I'm actually someone that has a Brother printer right now. I'm looking over it right now here at my desk to the left of me. While it isn't perfect all the time, much like much like most things in life and people in life, because if you ask for perfection, you're just gonna get disappointed. That's a quote from Oscar Wilde, I believe, but I might be
So
wrong on
yeah,
that. But
software
regardless,
software management tools are very helpful. So keep an eye out for those when managing your network. Um, let's dive a little bit deeper into printer security and other things you can do to secure your network.
right? Because like I mentioned before, printers are the least looked after devices. I mean, when people come into work, they bring a computer and like whatever else is needed for that day. Everyone's not going to come in and worry about what's going on with the printer that's like in the hallway all the time. So that leaves a lot of openings for, of course, insider threats potentially, as well as outside threats of people trying to steal things, much like how they try to steal bits and pieces of it to sell on the black market for money or cryptocurrency. But there are also serious data threats reside in the these network printers, as they often handle sensitive information reside in the documents. Like,
Agreed.
'cause
And one thing you have to watch out for is your printer stores your documents. So even after they've already been printed, there's a list of data or just everything that you've printed is right there on the printer. So anyone can walk into your building and print that off your most recent documents. So not only having software and hardware to prevent attacks, you need to be able to prevent on-site access. So make sure only the 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 people that need access have access to your printers.
just employ least privilege principle, as
Indeed.
we mentioned in, I believe, the third episode or second episode of this podcast. Whereas only have those authorized and authenticated to be able to print. As while there is like openings left open with insiders threats as well, outside of that, such as quote people that dumpster dive or snoop for those that don't have a shredder or don't know how to put their computers to sleep when they go on lunch or something, or
Right.
go on a consolidation trip or assessment of another client. Snooping happens to be another big cause of data breaching on a more localized level, of course, where if you leave a machine up and put it to sleep without a screen lockout policy by your company or even yourself, if the company doesn't set one up, then it leaves you open to uh, ne'er-do-wells, to put it in a weird word, but
Yeah, I hear you.
it's it's a vulnerability that when left open can leave someone compromised. As Dwight Schrute would say, identity theft isn't a joke.
It sure isn't,
with
especially
credential stuff left open, with
especially if
autofill
you have
always left open as well.
especially if you log into a printer and you leave your account logged in, that's always an issue. So make sure you're logging out of your accounts. Make sure you're uh changing default passwords on your printers. That's always a big risk. Um, make sure your network secured. Make sure there's no malicious documents. If you see malicious documents, make sure it's reported and taken care of. DDoS attacks. Do you have any other printing security tips or tricks, Greg?
Well, to look out for packet sniffers that look into the network traffic, which in terms of sniffing, I don't mean like a dog sniffing. Like that was bad. Uh,
No, that was good. I
a,
like it.
a network sniffer can be used to illegally capture confidential data as it's being transmitted on network connected devices, which when you look at devices like the IoT devices at your house, such as, I don't know, those Amazon Alexa dots that are intertwined and connected with lights and potentially appliances in your house, that can lead to a lot of volumes of different ways a cyber criminal can just mess around with a whole house. But regardless, it's not entirely hard for hackers to sniff the data being sent around, as there are free software tools like, I believe it's called Wireshark, where you can packet sniff stuff on unsafe protocols that are outdated, but people still use, and I hate that they still use protocols like Telnet, which is decades old and it's
Right.
unencrypted.
Always,
And
always encrypt.
like literally, if someone from, let's say, another state like Illinois or out of the country uses Telnet, if you had the right information and were able to remote into their machine, because it's just that vulnerable, and you upload Wireshark and you just try to tap into it using Wireshark's model, not model, application, which again on paper, like GitHub, it's not meant to do that, but people use it nefariously. Then you can get a whole outlook or log of what they're doing and what information is being passed to the machine. So to prevent this to happen on your network,
Make sure it's encrypted.
make sure it's encrypted, or rather find out if your printers or print servers in your network, be it a Soho office or enterprise network at your work,
All
support
right.
encrypted connections.
Last but not least, this is one that people probably don't think about. When you're going to replace your printers, make sure that your old printers have their hard drives wiped, because people can get hands on these old printers. They can print out your past documents and get potentially get access to sensitive information. So make sure you wipe your hard drives and your printers, or make sure you dispose of them properly so that people can't get their hands on that data.
Because I know a lot of this happens because of negligence. Like it's not it's not like it's like a unknown reason, like, oh, how does this happen? It's a lot of negligence because, like I mentioned before, a lot of people don't really take IT and technology seriously because they rather be worried about it, such as, oh no, AI, oh no, surveillance, d- Google Google's gonna know my every move. It's like, first off, you can change that in settings in terms of advertising and whatnot, but those concerns are still present with AI. But at the same time, it just takes a few extra minutes of your time to look up a place that recycles hard drives or printers, even whole printers. You can look up places that
Or
recycle
just
them.
you can even take the printer apart yourself and
Well,
uh
take it apart
take out
yourself.
the take out the drive and recycle the rest of it, or you know destroy the drive. There's special drive destruction places out there that you can look into that are trusted, that will take your drives and make sure they're properly disposed of.
Hmm.
But security and Let's talk about the California banning PCs. Well, not just PC, gaming PCs.
Now, yeah, so this is a very specific, and I'm looking at a piece on PC World about it, which it's not like a whole like mounting crisis like that is rested in other stuff that's more important, like COVID-19 and other stuff alongside greater matters of the world. But to go further in this piece, it's based around them trying to consolidate the energy use that is on gaming PCs, or rather high-end gaming PCs, with Alienware putting notices on its website that certain model desktop PCs cannot be sold now in
Well, there
states
is a list.
that
There's a
are
list that
that
says,
are
"Hey,
listed as
these."
not listed. What am I saying?
Yeah,
There's a
so it's like,
list,
"Hey,
and
these
it's
computers
California,
that are
Colorado,
not
Washington,
energy
Oregon,
efficient enough
Hawaii, and
can't be
Vermont.
sold in these states." Now, how do you feel about this? Do you think this is good, bad? This is the government cracking down on gamers? What are your thoughts?
Um, it's always weird when people bring up the government and the environment, as I'm someone that tries to care about the environment nowadays, which oddly enough has spread to my parents as well. But it's like we kind of take turns paying attention to what is environmental and what isn't, in terms of, oh, we gotta use metal straws now, don't use plastic ones, but please keep throwing out those lithium batteries in the ocean.
Oh, jeez. Oh man,
Where it's like they,
please
if
take your
they want to
batteries
be
to
environmental, that's
the
the
right
that's the
disposal sites, guys. It's very important.
yeah, please don't throw phones out in the ocean. Like, I get like you broke up with your partner and you're upset and you throw your phone in the ocean, but that also could kill a lot of fish.
The poor ocean is getting hit with a lot of pollution. We need to work on that. But
Yeah, but
overall,
likewise,
overall, my thoughts on this are like, see, initially when I saw the clickbait headline, I was like, oh man, the government's cracking down on us gamers. But then I'm like, if they really care about the environment, I'm glad. I feel like they might not be going about this the right way. Um, Banning certain PC setups might be a little bit too like, I don't know. It feels like we're kind of being targeted here, doesn't it? like
uh,
you're gonna ban PC setups, but you're not gonna like, I don't know. There's like so many other things. There's like so many things that are on the table right now that are like dumping in the ocean and like doesn't Sweden have like some kind of thing that like turns garbage into electricity? They have like some kind of plasma like they like make plasma and then turn it, I don't know. I don't even know, I forget the exact article, but they basically buy garbage from other companies. I'm not sure if it's Sweden or Switzerland or something.
it was
I forget what
I thought it was Korea
was it
had
Korea?
like a program similar to that as well, where they can turn actual waste, like
Into
garbage, and
electricity.
also human waste.
It
Like,
might be both of them. We might be way behind the times, and we're just like dumping in the ocean, and like a bunch of other companies are like, "Give us your garbage, we'll turn it into electricity and cleaning products or whatever." You know what I mean? And I'm just like, there's
yeah,
so many issues that we could be focusing on. It's just they chose this, and I'm like, really? But I get what they're trying to do. I get that they're like, hey, um, these PCs are using a lot of energy, and we want to cut down on that. I just think it's kind of ridiculous, like where they're putting their focus. Not that it's a bad thing. Um, so what they're saying is like certain PCs use too much electricity, especially when they're in sleep mode. Um, so I think it's important that certain companies will be like, hey, let's focus on making efficient, fast gaming PCs. I think that's a good thing. I think, um, especially like I think this is just focused on pre-builds. Like if you buy your own parts and build it, they're not limiting that. They're not limiting what you can buy. Um,
yeah. I mean, pre-builds are starting to get less bought out anyway.
right.
But
I think the next limitation they have in this process is monitors, which is another topic of its own, which I could talk about for hours. But overall, I think it's good and bad. I think part of the problem is they're saying that oh yeah, California energy, that we don't have enough energy. Like, if you think about it, that means the energy company should be stepping up. What they should be upgrading their what they have. I think from what was it, the Texas power outage, we've learned a lot about our
That was back in
right. We
February
learned
or
about
March. There's the Texas power outage. California
we
has
learned
like
a
no
lot about
water in like
our
their plant.
infrastructure and how old our energy infrastructure is and how much it needs updating.
Rightly
So I
so.
think that's another thing that needs to be looked at. We need to look at, is this efficient enough? What changes can be made? And I think we need to look at another way to go with that. But overall, I think this could be good and bad. I see both sides to it.
Yeah, because I don't know. Again, like to try to like close this out, like in terms of environmental impact, like as someone that doesn't buy pre-built PCs and also probably won't live in those 6 states ever. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to go to California, guys. Like, I get I'm young in my 20s, but I'm not going to California. I'd rather stay in Ohio where the weather can switch like every 2 hours. But it's just a lot of selective, like, choosing of different environmental issues where we can go from like 3 weeks ago where the Gulf of Mexico was on fire because an oil drum or pipe burst underwater and the little Gulf was on fire, like Ohio River crap on fire. Not a lot of it, but a good section of it was on fire. While at the same time, we can have commercials that are like where big companies like Google and Amazon say stuff like, "We'll be 25% energy efficient by 2030." It's like, what does that do for the other stuff? Because there's so many different environmental issues that I can mention how selective both sides are in terms of paying attention to either side. Like it was just 2 months ago that they were talking about cow emissions, which frankly don't coincide with a lot of pollution. Most of it still resided on cars and factories, not cows. But this just seems like another example of selective topicking, if that's a word, or if that makes sense. Like I made up topicking, it's not a word. But
Yeah, I think they need to change their focus. I think this isn't as big an issue as they made it
I
out to
mean,
be.
there's like greater issues and stuff, of course, but in the realm of
There are.
environmentalism and climate change and everything surrounding that, like the Pacific Northwest is on fire, and Florida's Florida, and there are people still that don't have clean water still, and meanwhile you have weirdos like
Right.
those at Nestle go like, "You can't get water. It's gotta be Nestle water. No one else can get my
Nestle
water.
water.
Get the bottled water now." Like he,
So call Jeff Bezos, be like, "Hey,
please pay your
um,
workers more. Please don't.
pay your
Please
workers,
lower the price of
call
Amazon Prime.
give money to these politicians so that they focus on better better topics for environmental things." Better, yeah. So let's move on. I think we went on this long enough. I could talk about
I mean,
uh
I don't want to
the
like go up to them
the
and like ask
economy
them how to
and
do their job,
Jeff
of course,
Bezos
but at the same time,
and
we're basically yelling at 400
I
plus people.
I want to tell them how to do their job.
Like as as fun as that would be.
Anyway, let's talk about Framework. And this company is called Framework. Um, and they have created a laptop. And it's not just any laptop. It's a special laptop. It is fully upgradable.
Completely upgradable, you would say.
this is not the only thing that makes this laptop great, but it's definitely one of the main things. I would say when I go out to buy a laptop, I want something that I can do not just typing papers for work, school, or whatever. I want it to be able to game. I want it to be able to have long battery life. I want it to be, uh, I don't know, just be able to be charging on the go. Have it to have high refresh rate. Have it, all these factors. There's a bunch of factors I want it to be able to do. And when after you get a laptop, you wonder like, what's coming out next that I'm gonna have to buy 3 months down the road, a year down the road, that's gonna make this laptop
Hmm.
obsolete. You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
also, what are the bottlenecks? What is gonna bottleneck my laptop? Um, Based on what specs I got, you don't always know. You can go out, you can like ask your friends, you can do your research, but there's always something. This laptop has a lot of potential. Like you can switch out your hard drive, you can switch out your there's a bunch of stuff in there. You can switch out your like memory, you can switch the ports around. There's just so much potential here, and it's not a cheap laptop. It's a solid piece of machinery. Like it's not flimsy. It's not gonna break uh easily. It seems like a solid you know piece of technology. How do you feel about this? Is this something you have your eye on?
Well, it certainly is intriguing, but then again, I'm not a guy that buys laptops like every year or so. But what I like about this, and I'm quoting a comment here on the video by, we're talking about a video piece talking about it by Linus Tech Tips, as it gives you the ability to fix what you have instead of tossing it in the recycling bin and buying a new one. But this like ideal idea is good in terms of just like making breakthroughs, in the industry where the most we get from Windows and Apple is like, oh look, it's a MacBook. It's thinner now. It's a Pro
Yeah, I hear
XVL
you.
Lite. Like I hate when people put initials after stuff because it complicates the process. Like just give it a name. But like most we'll get from them is just like, oh, here's an operating system. Here's some updates. Get those updates in. We're trying nothing else. That's why there could be grounds that could be broken with these companies like a framework and just paving the way for better adaptions into the world. Like it was just yesterday that I guess they unearthed blueprints for an engine that runs completely on water or something for like cars, and it never was brought to light, I guess. And it,
I mean, well, there's a lot of designs for stuff that like different types of engines. You can go solar, uh you can go what's it, natural gas, you can go
well, like
uh
there's diesel and there's
what's the other one?
electric hybrid as well.
There's electric, yeah, you can go electric, you can go diesel, you can go there's like all different kinds of stuff
And that's residing in the
that
car
there's all
industry,
different
but in
kinds of engines you can
computers,
use. Um I think this keeps coming up. The water one is actually they're changing water into hydrogen and burning the hydrogen, which is the last one I was thinking of is fuel cell. So fuel cell also uses hydrogen to make electricity. Um, but basically it's not really water, it's hydrogen, which is a combustible that you can use in an engine. Uh, it's I mean, I don't know if it's
well, I
better
don't.
than
I'm just
gasoline,
bringing it to light because it's like a breakthrough
but
thing, much like how
not
Frameworks
just
laptop is a breakthrough thing. As with some components in laptops,
but Yeah, back to the frameworks, I think they're definitely pushing the envelope. They're like, "Hey, this is the new standard for laptops." They're calling out, all the other laptop makers are like, "Hey, this is a new standard. You have to make your stuff modular. You need to include these features. You need to um be able to upgrade." It feels when I was watching the video, it feels very well thought out. There's features that really caught my eye, so I feel like this is very promising. Like the fact that you can take out the battery and run off completely with power. That's a great feature because there's there's laptops out there that
Yeah, I had to
spoil the
fix
battery if
that
you
the other
keep it
day.
plugged in. Um, like especially when you're later on, if your laptop battery just doesn't hold what it used to, you're gonna keep it plugged in all the time. So that's a great feature. Um, being able to there's I think he said there was like a camera shutter. Uh there's quite a lot of other features. There's standard headphone jack. I think it's USB-C, right? Or is it Thunderbolt? Either or, it's C, which is nice. I think a lot of other companies have been switching to C for charging and whatnot. But I love that it's
Well, future
USB-C.
USB is making the
I
ports
think that's the
faster
future of
right now.
USB.
I think more than just hardware.
Yeah, but that's what Thunderbolt is. It's the fastest ports, right? So I think it's USB-C and Thunderbolt, if I'm correct. Um, I don't know, but either way, C is way better than what a lot of other laptops have right now, and
Yeah,
I think the ports are movable,
as well as just
which
putting
is a
in
nice
different
feature.
keypads. Well, no, keyboards, trackpads, and screens that could be put into this. Is that's like a good addition to just have those parts be upgraded when usually on paper most people mostly just change the storage space or memory of the laptop and that's it. Because those are usually how you say
Yeah.
not tied to stuff that can break your computer, like the GPU being locked onto the board or the motherboard.
So when you're taking it apart, it's got QR codes everywhere. So when you go to upgrade stuff, you just use the QR code to look up new parts. That's a nice feature.
Mm-hmm. It's more in line with that rather than like doing the old method of I have to look up the service tag for the whole machine, then I gotta look up the component number, then I gotta go to a separate site to look at the component.
Yeah, it's very intuitive. It's got a lot of great features. I think the only thing I would call out on this is CPU is hard soldered,
Mm-hmm.
but this is still an early version. I think as the company grows, they'll work harder to make that upgradable as well. Hopefully, that's is this is right now. This is very promising, and I would definitely go out and buy one. I mean, I'm probably gonna wait and see if they do the CPU, but this is definitely like my number one slot for my next laptop.
This has
Yes, a
great
lot of potential.
potential. Like it's up there with the last thing I looked at, which was the big O machine, which I probably didn't mention on the podcast, more like outside the podcast, but the big O or the big Origin was a machine that has a Nintendo Switch, a PS4, an Xbox One, and a PC
Oh,
in
that's
it.
cool.
It's completely customized to fit all four machines. I don't know how well or how well it works even. I've seen mostly two videos and an article, and I'm not willing to put a price down on it because they say and estimate if they would make a commercial, it'd be over $10,000 plus for like just saying I want two of those things in the PC because there's gonna be a lot of heat going through that machine, so I wonder how all that works completely as well. But this that's separate from this, but this. had its own levels of intuitive nature. In the industry,
I
that
agree.
started to stagnate a bit in terms of ideas,
I
you know?
I think that that was a big issue. There was stagnation. There was, hey, look, if we just make this thinner, people will buy it. If we make the bezel smaller, people will buy it. If we make this a little bit faster, people will buy it. And I think
We
that
remove the headphone
stagnation,
jack and remove the
yeah,
USB ports and make everything
I wouldn't buy
simple,
it.
then
I
people will
want my
buy it.
headphone jack. But still, I think it definitely stagnated, and this is definitely pushing the envelope. It's pushing us forward into a new tech, uh, a new a new tech industry for laptops, and I'm excited about it. I can't wait to see more. I can't wait to see what innovations they come out with for the laptops. I can't wait to see what kind of other hardware they come out with. So keep a close eye on Framework. They definitely have a lot of potential.
And again, this video that we're talking about that was covering framework was on Linus Tech Tips. I guess that's a YouTube channel at youtube.com, and you can find it in a video titled "A Completely Upgradable Laptop," and it's at Linus. That is LINUSTECH Tips as a YouTube channel. I can probably link it in the description of wherever we upload this as well. But on that note, I'd like to thank you all for coming to listen to us today, talk about the topics we covered today. As I'd like to thank Mike for joining me today, of course.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. I appreciate you coming out, Greg. It was great talking to you about especially about that last the framework video. I'm really excited about what's coming next from them. Uh, so yeah, guys, have a good one, and thanks for joining us.
Take care of everyone and take care of yourselves, everyone, and stay safe. See you around, everyone.
Bye.